Hello and welcome to
Absolute Game Off. Nerd!
And we have a special show tonight. And Rohan, tell us why we're special tonight.
Yeah, this is our first. So first off, this is JP and I's only second time ever going live. So if we mess anything up, that is probably why. But this is actually the first time we've gone live on our own channel. And we're doing it for our 2023 year in review episode. We've got a couple of our favorite special guest hosts here tonight. We have Dansxmencomics and Ryan, Colossus Collector. What's up, fellas?
Hey.
Thanks for having us on.
Every time you guys do the intro, I have just the biggest grin just from that intro thing.
Well, it's always good because I always love that. I mean, I chuckle too, but I always love seeing JP chuckle because it's like his creation. And so it's just like that proud father moment every time it comes on.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah. Looks like we got a couple people here as well, too. We got Mr. Akins. What up? And we got William, the Rider 95. And then Brandon. What's up, bro? Right on. Yeah. So the year in review, I thought it would be best, by the way. So I thought to start, kind of what would be kind of nice to kind of go around the room here and just kind of talk about kind of what you learned, like what are the highlights of your year in 2023. So like I'll kind of start here, just kind of give you an example I'm talking about. Like, so 2023 was great. I mean, JP and I passed a year doing this podcast, which was pretty awesome. And you know, it's kind of cool. Like we literally put out an episode every week, had a new guest on every week. And, I thought that was really cool. I started collecting cards, which was a big evolution in my collection, and that's been a lot of fun. And then, yeah, in terms of my collecting taste, I feel like my tastes have only gotten bigger and grander, which is fun. It just, you know, makes it a little bit more patience involved, but yeah, no, 2023 has been good. So Dan, why don't we start with you? What do you think?
Yeah, man. So did you just start collecting cards this year?
Yeah, I only started collecting comics in 2022. And so cards was last spring is when I got into it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I still need to know your origin story. I've heard everybody else, all your guests, but.
Oh yeah. So our first, I guess we can go do it real quick. JP and R's actually very first episode was that, but I mean, for me, it was like kind of similar to most 90s kids, right? The cards brought me in. And that brought me into comics. And then I fell off of it. I got into sports, more into sports and sports cards. And then like, you know, life happened. And then what got me back into the hobby was actually that Vivi app with the NFTs of comic books. Cause like my brother showed me them. They were only like $6. I was like, this is kind of cool. And I got a couple and I got into it. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I should actually like look at comics in the real 3D again. And that got me back in. So yeah.
Sweet.
And then how did he get on doing a podcast? Let's ask him.
Oh yeah, the podcast is just JP was my first Instagram friend via comics, and he and I would just like talk like, what are you looking for? What did you get? That kind of thing. And then constantly he was in my head just like, we need to do a podcast. We need to do a podcast. We need to do a podcast. And I distinctly remember like I ended up talking to my brother and my cousins. We have this text thread, and we were talking about Detective Comics 31. And they were asking me like, why is it so valuable? And I kind of went down the list and I kind of then had that rehash that conversation with JP. And he was like, I would love to have this discussion on a podcast. and I was just like, okay. And again, I still want to take it serious. He's like, no, I'm serious. He's like, let's get on the phone and talk about it. And I was like, really? And he like literally then texted me the phone number on Instagram. And then we had a phone call. I was like, here we go. Let's go. And
that's right.
Here we are over a year later. And, it's the highlight of my week. I love it. Yeah.
We've had a lot of interesting guests throughout the last year, which, you know, from card collecting people to people who draw books that involve boobs and things of that nature. So we've run the gambit in this year. So I think that's been a lot of fun. The different personalities and the friends we've made, the Illuminati for life, you know, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight in 22. And just kind of on that caveat, on that note, like, or piggyback on that note, like, what's been really cool is we're not a big podcast, but like I've reached out to so many people in the hobby, and yeah, there's been a couple people like I just don't have the time. That's totally fine. Like life is busy, but literally almost everyone's like, yeah, I'd love to come on. When can I come on? That kind of thing. Like it's never been like, you know, an issue of people being like not wanting to come on. Like and that's what's so great about the community. It's like as big as it could get, it could also feel very close. And, you know, that's been a definite highlight of 2023 for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Word.
So
well, then
Go ahead,
kick it
Dan.
off over here. I have my my goals from.
Oh, here we
this year.
go.
I only got accomplished one of them. I didn't really do either of these ones. These are like probably the most simple, just buy upgrades. And this one is try to keep your family time and your comic time separate. And I think I've done a better job on this, but I have definitely spent more in comics.
Wait, Dan, talk to me about this. Like, what was it before? Like, was comics taking over too much time, and then what have you changed?
Yeah, I'd say like generally, like I would find myself. The biggest thing that I recognized was that I would be like looking at eBay or listening to YouTube videos while I was playing with my daughter, and like so I would have an earbud in and listen, or like when we're watching something together, like instead of engaging with the show and with her, like, hey, this just happened, isn't that cool? Instead of that, I would just be listening, and like the secondary me was there, with my daughter, and I was like, I don't like that feeling. When I'm looking at myself as the observer, like a third person watching my life, I don't like that thought. And so that was something that I really wanted to change, and for that aspect, I've definitely met that goal, I think. And the buying only upgrades part, I've only bought the same grade or lower because now I'm just like I feel better at navigating through auctions, or mostly buy it now is on eBay. Like that's my bread and butter right there, because you find the one post that was just posted, and Mr. Akins, for you, buddy, I will start speaking in the third person. Dan is thinking to himself, what did Dan do? Well, I think it's just that I realized that I get the most excitement buying something when I know I got it for a good price, like anybody, right?
You like the score. That's the thrill of it, the score.
Exactly. And when you find it and you nailed it, and the thing that I know the most are things that I already have and things that I've been searching for. It's always X-Men. It's always in that certain range. The range that I like, which is Claremont X-Men.
Well, let me ask you this question. What is the most copies?
I was literally just going to ask this question. Yeah.
Do you have the most of?
Oh, that's a good question.
We're gonna get rich. We're gonna get rich, Dan.
You take it, Ryan. And I want to mention before I do want to mention that you guys said that you guys were your first Instagram friends. Ryan was the first one that I became like closer with. Like we would message each other. I would message a few other people here and there, but like Ryan was the one that stuck, and like I recognized his collection was we would like the same things, and we had a huge appreciation for that. And so
that's funny because you guys are probably the same distance as Rohan and I away.
Yeah, right. West Coast, East Coast. Yeah,
yes,
totally.
Yeah. Yes.
We should, if we need content for the channels, we should make like some faux rom-coms, but it's our bromances with our comic partners.
Our comic partners,
talking on the phone stuff.
So my wife would say, "You on the phone with your comic boyfriend or something?" I'm like, "Relax."
I'm not gonna lie. Like I have definitely had some like late night phone calls with like UJP, with Mike, with Manu, a couple people like, and my wife's been like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, you don't know them.
What's funny is for you, it's probably 8 o'clock. For us, it's 11:30, and she's like, "What are you getting on the phone for now?" I'm like, "Why not? It's comic talk. You got to talk."
Yeah.
You got to talk it out. We have dilemmas that our wives are not going to help us with. So,
right.
But when, I kind of have this shtick, I've learned, I didn't think this was my thing, but multiple copies of the same comics, because that's what I go after. But it's not that I want to own multiple copies. It's that I have, Do
you want to sell that one copy? Do you want to?
It's going to be a base, dude. Are you asking me what I want to do? Because this is the dilemma. I have so many thoughts. Let's not go down that.
Dude, so just on that note, JP, it's so funny. So I haven't bought a comic anytime recently, or not too recently. And I missed an X-Men 129 for a great deal. I tried to make a bundle offer, and then someone claimed it full price. Anyway, so I knew our boy Dan here probably had multiple, so I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, Dan, do you have any extras of X-Men 129?" He goes, "I have 3, but I'm not ready to sell any yet." Was his first line to me.
Yeah.
The minute I get an extra one of something I have, I'm like, I gotta sell the other one.
Oh yeah, I'm 100%.
Right away. Not that I do sell it. It may sit for a while on eBay. It may never sell, but I'm like, I bought it because this is a better copy. Like,
yeah,
but yeah. So like, I'm like ready to get rid of it once I get it, but it doesn't say it happens. Whereas I'm not keeping it, and I'm pissed. When I see the same copy of it, I'm like, damn it, can't someone just buy this damn thing off of me? Because the point was, I was upgrading. Right, spending more and getting rid of the other one, and part of the cost of buying the new one was selling the other one, right?
Yeah,
that little bit of help, but Danny must think differently than most people.
Yeah,
that was my thinking with my
Moon Knight.
Yeah, with the Moon Knight, the Marvel Spotlight. I forget the number now. I had the 9.2, and then I upgraded to 9.6. I'm like, yeah, well, I'll sell the 9.2, and yeah, can't sell it.
I mean, I think this is actually a good topic to kind of talk about in terms of a year review in 2023. I think that's something like I have definitely learned just because the market has come down so much. And Dan, you and I have talked about this, and in the sense that like people right now, obviously like there are the big books, right? And those still have a market, and the people that have the money are buying those books. But in terms of like the Moon Knight books, like people are moving on those books when they find a screaming deal. And it's like when you're in that mode of like, I got a 9.6, now I want to sell my 9.2, you're really not hoping to give it away at a screaming deal. You're hoping to like, you're hoping you found the 9.6 at a good price, and maybe I can sell my 9.2 for almost the same amount, and just kind of it's almost a wash. And that's just, unless you're some kind of monster dealer doing high volume, like, none of us are sellers here, and so none of us have a large selling audience. So it's like, unless you put that thing 50% under the recent sale, like it's like it just sits there as if no one even saw it.
Or consign it, and then get a percentage taken off your sale anyway. So,
but I've consigned books this year, and even those I had to offer a huge discount for them to go. Like, I put, Diamond has 10,000 plus followers, and I've put multiple books on Diamond this year, and it wasn't until I cut way under did they go.
And see, the thing of it is, in my other life, let's call it professional life, when the stock market goes down, you can buy more of those particular shares to average out your cost, lower your cost. You can't do that with a comic. Right? You can't buy another ASM 129 and lower your price point on it to sell out the one you overpaid for a year ago. And that's the one part of why it's so hard to get rid of the one you overpaid for such a shitty price, right? You'd rather hold it and get rid of it. But when you see that 7.5, that's the same damn price as your 5.5, or 3.5, you're like, God damn it. It's just,
it especially hurts if you're trying to move it. And I would argue though that you can dollar cost average. You're right though, as far as like if it's out of your price range, like if that's the biggest book you own, an ASM 129, you probably can't afford another 129 when you see it at a lower price.
Well, if you see it for $1,000, like you got a 5.5 at $1,000 now.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it at 900 now.
But but you can put your money in on that character. Put your bet in on Punisher by buying, the limited series #1 or something along those lines.
I mean, I think you could also still like. It just may take more time, right? It's not an immediate return. Like you could also buy in at 900 for that 5.5. And then when it does go up, which probably isn't going to be anytime soon, to be honest, then you can sell it. And that's what I said, the quick turn is just not there. Like I said, unless you have an audience to sell to, which, the 4 of us don't. And then, or B, it's just like screaming deal.
You're letting it go at a really good deal, which you can pretty much like only do, or it's easy to do if you bought them at an even lower price.
Exactly. Or you're just accepting the loss that you take.
Right. I mean, let's say you can buy a 7.5 for $1,200 and you bought a 5.5 for $1,500. Right. Now you can get rid of the 5.5 for $900.
Yeah, there you go.
So the $1,200 book only really costs you $300.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious to ask somebody who was buying and collecting prior to the boom for a number of years, whether or not buyers were like they are right now, where they only are going to take screaming deals, or were they buying at like FMV,
It's
Yeah.
also
kind of
interesting
on
though,
the
like
more regular, right? Like,
FMV though was like a fraction.
no,
So,
I understand. I just want to know if the behavior of like, I'm only buying something if it's like 20% off
Mhm.
or more, like, because that's kind of like what it is right now. Like, people want way under the
Yeah.
market value, otherwise it just sits. I'm just wondering if it was always like that before, or if that's just maybe a kind of a little bit of a hangover of the boom plus a down economy and people don't have the money right now.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know
I've
whether.
also kind of something I've been thinking about a lot recently, kind of in this regard, is like I feel like there's if you were to look at the graph of like value of comics, I feel like it's like it plateaus and then when does that jump from the plateau happen? And it seems like, and again, I have very limited data to vouch this on, but just kind of going off conversation, it seems like once a decade almost is when it kind of really takes the next jump up. For example, like if we talked about the 90s Marvel cards, there's a lot of those cards like from series 1, you flip them over, those MVC cards, you can show like Hulk 181, it lists at like $75, right? And ASM 129 at $125. And that stayed relatively there because then we had the comic crash or the card crash and all that. And then like kind of 2000 hit, and it seemed like that kind of $125 comic maybe went up to $300 or $400, right? And then it hung there for another decade. And then in 2010, you hear about people getting like ASM 129 for $500, right? And now we're at a point where like ASM 129 is $1,000 book, let's just say roughly, when you think about if you want to plan for it. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like, it just seems like it kind of, you got to, so like when I think about like, oh, I got to get a book now because it'll never be lower. I think that low, I was like, I feel like we have quite a bit of time before it takes that next kind of like level jump.
It's not going to jump again, but I think the current price we're at is probably the low point unless something.
I think it could go a little lower still.
I mean, it could go. I don't think it's going to go much lower, though. I think it could go lower, but not by much. I think we've hit pretty close to the plateau or the valley, wherever you want the valley, I guess, where these books are going to go. And what Mon's saying here about state of economy, I don't know. From what I see, stock market's rebounding big time. Inflation's coming down, so all these bellwethers for a strong economy with unemployment. Mortgage rates are high, but I mean, as that comes down, I think the economy recovers. I think it's more of the fact that people overpaid, and then the bubble burst, right?
Yeah.
So there was
and it stings when you look back at the books that you want to buy. It's like touching that hot kettle again. You're like, ooh, I don't want to get burned again because I remember how that feels.
I also think too, just on the character spec situation, I think that really hit hard. The greater effect though was that pandemic where people were bored with money to spend and had nothing to do to put money into. Because my example is like Iron Man, right? Iron Man came out in 2008 and it was a home run right out the gate. It wasn't like a movie that was appreciated. It was a home run. Comics did not jump like they did, right? It was when that pandemic hit is when character spec took off to the next level. And so I personally think that character specking in terms of how it was, at least through the boom, is over. Like, will books go up due to that? Yes, but not to the same level that we saw.
I think part of where the character spec really took off is also because, like, I wouldn't have expected it to pop off on Iron Man because it was a successful movie, but the MCU wasn't quite what it got to. And I think right around Endgame or Infinity War, like the conclusion, that's when it just like people were lost their marbles over Marvel and like, oh my God, like Marvel's so amazing. This thing's only going to get better. And that's, I think, where the speculation game kind of really took off. And I think to Mon's question there, I think if Marvel could reach that kind of success again, excitement again, I do think you would get a little bit. I don't know if it'll ever get quite as crazy
Yeah.
as it was, but like I do think you will come back to books spiking sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, it's got like the craziness has to be there
The
again.
situation was, it was the
The
perfect
movies, right?
storm, right?
Yeah,
It
that's
hit
what I was
its
saying. Like the
peak.
perfect store of the
We had the
peak
money.
and the money and the pandemic.
We
The nothing to
knew
do.
that the MCU. I mean, we have a freaking, like there's a synonym for, or sorry, like the initials for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We created the MCU because we say it so much. It's synonymous with comic books, like it feels like, and so we would associate comic values based on the future prospects of what Kevin Feige is going to do with the cinematic Marvel universe. And since he's leaking these ideas like, okay, phase this, phase that, we're going to bring in these characters, we all ran with it, right?
And look what happened. I mean, we're saying Spec's kind of dead, but the whole Taylor Swift thing, like that
Yeah,
went
that's
off.
true. Yeah,
Spec isn't dead, no.
And
I think that's
You know,
also another situation.
Or
though, where
Kang,
it's like,
the
well,
Kang thing.
the Swifty thing.
I think the Taylor Swift Dazzler is kind of what damaged it. It's another
I agree.
perfect storm. Like Taylor Swift is the largest thing on the planet.
Who is she
right now.
again?
Like,
I don't know who she is.
I mean, she's like literally like when you hear about like your grandparents talk about like, oh, in 1963 the Beatles came to Seattle and it was like a universal event. Like that's what
It's like
Taylor Swift
she's
is.
the Michael Jackson of our time, or
Yeah, like
Elvis.
and so like yeah, I think there's another perfect storm situation.
But another example is that first Wolverine Deadpool meeting book that popped off and started going expensive too. As soon as we found out Deadpool Wolverine was happening, and that was kind of after I think Spec was sort of. So I
guess
still think it can happen. It's just not going to happen on the same scale.
Yeah,
yeah. I think
also,
that
I think that
we're in a different
time was compressed. Like that Wolverine 88, it boop, and then it went right back down.
Sure,
JP
but that's like most Spec
$1.
books did that.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of them stayed really high for a long time. Like either the movie came out.
I just think we're in a different time.
Or,
yeah, like look at Ant-Man and Kang, and that movie came out. It wasn't as good. Jonathan Majors had the problems going on back then. Speculated or talked about, so that kind of ruined that movie and that speculation. But going back to the 90s, we didn't have movies to spec on. We had new characters that were going to take off with all these McFarlane, Liefeld, Jim Lee.
It was all about the artist.
Image, and everyone was going to make millions by buying these books that were #1 issues that were going to become Superman #1 down the road, and that speculation died off. Then you had speculation, 30 years later, of particular characters that were going to take off, and I think people forgot about what the stalwarts were, right? Some became more popular over time. I mean, I never really cared for Iron Man until I saw him live on screen, just because of the way he was portrayed by RDJ. I mean, he did such a great job. I mean, he personifies that character, and I think that because of what that movie meant and what his role was in Endgame, like that's a character I want to put on my wall. You know what I mean? Just because of how that was played out. Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool, I just think he fits the role greatly. I mean, that's a cool character to have. He's pop culture now, so those things will help bring them up and hold steady, right? Hold steady up here. And then the rest of it's just that typical Spec where, Kang, and then it dies off. Some thoughts on his next movie and what he's going to bring. And then Jesus, if you were all in on Kang, and then now he's done. I mean,
well,
I
would like to say that is also speculation. Like we're specking that Kang is done, right? That's another form of spec when we're selling, because get the hell out of this. It's not going to do anything.
I'm not going to lie. If I was definitely thinking today, I was like, I wonder if I'll see a Avengers 8 for just a drop dead bottom price to like snag today because of all this. I saw
and maybe it's the time to buy it just because it's a cool character down the road.
I think it's in terms of that book. I think it's a cool book to own. Like, I mean, it's an Avengers 8 and Kang, regardless of what happens in movies, like Kang is a major villain. It's an Avengers sub 10 issue. Like, it's just a great book and I think kind of that's kind of the lesson you learn. Like, it was always silly to me when you think like FF33 spiked and it's like first appearance of a Tuma, and it's like, what are we doing here, guys? Or like Secret Wars 3 first appearance of Titania. It's like, guys, we should have all been smart enough to know like this is not gonna last. Like, but when you talk about like Iron Man and Kang and Spider-Man, like these are tried and true and have been around for a long time because they're awesome.
Well, and when you're stuck in that echo chamber of everybody, it's just spec, top 10, like, you know, and you're just consuming that type of stuff, it breeds that FOMO feeling.
Yeah. Like, it's funny, like, I mean, we've talked about it in our thread, like when the whole, you know, female Silver Surfer rumors that came out, like there apparently is a book, like a Thor modern book where there's like a female book. Or Hercules, yeah, where there's a, and like that book like kind of hit the hot list, and it's just like, guys, like, come on, even if this does happen, like this is a joke, like this is not going to go anywhere. So
yeah. I mean, it puts light on different books, and like if I'm out hunting and I see it, I'll grab it for like $1 or something because it's in a long box that someone didn't know about it, and then maybe you get rid of it for $10.
I agree. Sure. If you find these things in dollar bins, by all means, like go to town.
Who was the Hypno Hustler? Remember that guy?
Yes. Right? I think William here makes a good point about the that if you have, they can just like replace a different actor. You know, I feel like because of the, you know, it's just a different variant, have a different universe, blah, blah, blah. That's one of the reasons I got out of comic books in the 90s, because it just got so like, we can just do whatever we want. None of this matters. And when you start to feel like none of it really, there's no consequences, none of it really does matter, you definitely lose the
yeah. I mean, I'll be honest too, like that's something gravity to it. I think that's one of the things that has not as appealed to me as much. It's just like with the MCU kind of stuff talking about of whenever it's like we need to do some multiverse, like it's just like it's an immediate get out of jail free card.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's like I'm definitely ready, yeah, or whatever. Like it's just like that being said, like I want him to just wrap it up. I don't want him to band-aid it. I want to just cap it and then get on to the next thing is my personal.
Any of you guys old enough to watch the show Dallas?
I know of it. My parents watched it, but I never watched it.
I know what you mean, but I didn't watch it. No.
Is it RJ or JR that one of the guys died and ended up being a dream? Yeah. And it was a dream. And that ended up being like the premise of every show that needed to change something up. They use it as a dream. Right. So that multiverse is now the dream from the 80s to try to get rid of shit that they didn't like. And I tell you,
it's going to end with Kevin Feige waking up going, oh,
whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to bring the X-Men in and change this whole damn thing.
I will tell you this, since you just brought, I do think like he did a great job with the Infinity. Like I would not be opposed to like, it's Kevin Feige's had his time. He did great. He's kind of, you know, it's like the legend never is forever, right? Like you've got to kind of keep, it's like with sports when you hang on.
Legends never die. Legends never die.
You know, you see these guys limp out the end of their career and it's like, you should have just went out on top.
Well, Stan Lee didn't leave.
A bit ambitious, yeah.
I'll tell you, Kevin Feige is the Stan Lee of our generation, right? He's building this. I mean, he's building the MCU. I mean, he's taking these characters and he's a guy that he's gonna be in every of the movies when they in 50 years when they redo these MCU movies. He'll be the face.
Are you Tony Stank?
Yeah, that'll be Tony Stank.
That was the best one. Oh man! But
JP, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to mention that you were talking about like it was all just a dream, right? Kind of a scenario. I stopped watching. I loved The Walking Dead. Stopped watching after I thought Glenn was dead after he was. I don't know if you all watched that, but like he pretty much died. They cut the scene at the end of the episode. He's under a dumpster. All the zombies, or not under a dumpster. He's on the ground. All the zombies are coming to him. He's dead, like obviously. Then a couple episodes later, they're like, "Oh no, he slid under the trash can, got away from them." And I was like, you know what? I'll let that go because I love the character so much. I'm gonna stick with this. And then 2 hours later, or 2 episodes later, they kill him by, you know, a brutal murder. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, screw you guys. Like, this is.
I mean, but Dan, that's been happening for like we all love the Chris Claremont run. What happened to Chris? Jean Grey became the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Died.
Don't you try to turn this on my X-Men here. It's
10 years later when they wanted to make X Factor, they needed a female. And they're like, wait a minute. The Phoenix was actually a cosmic entity, and Jean's body has actually been in a protective cocoon under the Hudson Bay or whatever it was for like 10 years.
That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. No, it's
now Glenn is the Sentry.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Full circle, man.
But here's what Mon said about Ryan Stanley's work. Think about Claremont. I mean, they, as much as he's revered, he changed some stuff, like you just said, with what the Phoenix was. I mean, they're all riding works from Roman days, Greek mythology, and all that stuff.
Shoulders of giants, for sure.
You know, and they're all adding to these storylines that we've been told for, you know, whatever amount of years. So, you know, the point with Feige is I think he can continue. I don't think he needs to leave. Mike Tomlin needs to leave the Steelers. Okay, I'm cool with that. He'll find a job somewhere else. It's just to that time. I don't think it's Feige's time. I think we can keep going forward with him, but I think he's a long term. Yeah. He kept this together like Stan Lee created all of it. Jack Kirby, whatever his involvement is back then. But I just think he's important to the future of the MCU and sort of guiding that ship. If we're going to still take pride and still enjoy this hobby, that we can see these characters live on screen, because I think that's the biggest thrill, is seeing those characters live, right?
Yeah, I agree. He deserves to keep rolling, you know.
So, but
I just hope he does good. I mean, if he does bad, I'm going to end up agreeing with Ron.
Yeah, I'm not saying he should be fired. I just say, like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to pass the torch, is kind of the point.
Sometimes you get what you don't want, or whatever the damn saying is, fool me once, you fooled me twice, or whatever George Bush said back in the day. I mean, I can't even say it right now. Yeah. We'll be again. I mean, we might get Kathleen Kennedy in here to run Marvel. That would be, oh my gosh.
I think, and we talked about this actually in an episode with Nick from Geekable, right? Like, Disney bought Marvel not with the intention of just making the Infinity Saga, right? They're going to make Marvel movies because there's money there for the next, past our lifetime. For us to expect that it's going to be riding high the entire way is not realistic. Like, there's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys. They're going to probably peak again, and guess what? They're going to crash again, and we're going to get upset, and we're going to, it's unrealistic to think that it's always going to be at the top.
We all are also sports fans, from what I gather. I know some of us are Leaf fans, some of us are Seattle fans, some of us are Dan. I'm not sure who you're a fan of.
Well, are you talking about hockey?
Hockey, football, baseball, you name it.
Yes, I'm a sports fan. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, who's your team?
I mean, okay.
Oregon Ducks.
Oregon Ducks. Okay. But I mean, yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah. Like Rohan was saying, we all go through peaks and valleys, right? I mean, even them, your favorite sports team does the same thing. So real fans stick with it, as hard as it is when they're the worst, right?
100%. I'm not advocating at all.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that if you equate it to sports, because we all, we do have our favorite sports teams. We live and die by them. Like, Mon, he and I are big Steeler fans. We're like, quite ticked as the direction, but a real fan will stick with it. You're either a Marvel fan or a collectible fan or just you're gonna stick with it no matter what. And
I think the analogy is there. Yeah. I think there's certain times we need to lower our expectations for the season, or for these next few movies or whatever, and just let's be pleasantly surprised. Like let's just eat some popcorn, not expect too much, and hey, if it's a home run, this is what I live by in life, guys. Set the bar low. You will never be disappointed.
I tell it to my wife.
I should apply that to my CGC missions.
JP says it right before he turns down the lights.
Set the bar low. And I say it in a real like Barry White voice. Set the bar low, baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it usually works out. You're right, Dan. It usually does work out. Well, that was pretty good.
Yeah. So. I want to come back around. We did kind of tangent off, but like kind of in the year in review, Ryan, you started your channel. Talk us real quick, like how that's been. It's been fun, I'm sure. Like,
Brandon.
Yeah.
It's been big year. Started my channel, so that's definitely a highlight.
I was so stoked you did that, dude.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's led to a lot of great friendships and just a lot of fun. It's really kind of it's elevated my interest in comics even more. And that was probably very evident by all the purchases I've made this year, which was off the rails. I was saying to somebody in my comment section that I completed all my 2023 goals and side quests, and then probably completed like the next 2 years worth of comic goals on top of that this year. Like I just went crazy.
did.
nuts.
Ryan,
Why do you think you did? Why do you
What?
think you did? Yeah, why do you
Why?
think you did? Was it
Because I just like the amount of big keys I bought was crazy. Like,
Yeah, but like you collected for 3 different people. Like you collected 3 different styles of collecting almost. Like what made you want to go after those big keys?
because I have no self-control.
Wait, I want Ryan to answer the question Mr. Akins has here, and I want to answer
good
too
call.
after Ryan.
Oh, I probably collecting still. I mean, I don't know. They're one and the same to me.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So what I'll say with that is,
surprises.
it's not specifically YouTube that I would be like that's what I enjoy more.
Yeah.
It's the community that it has created,
Mhm.
right? Like the most fun, and we've talked about this tons of times. The most fun is hunting and researching and talking to you guys, and then when you get the score, it's sharing it with you guys and showing it. And that, you know, could be on YouTube, that could be in our group thread, that could be just one-on-one, however it is. But then it's like, it kind of like goes into my box and I'm happy I have it and I don't want to get rid of it. But like, you know, then it's on to the next, right? So yeah, it is a joint thing, but it's the community that is 100% the best part. And if YouTube is a function of that community, then, you know, so be it.
TJ, you hit it. His wallet is
he's
being choked out right
he's
now.
He's in the crawl space room under the stairs crying.
I tell you though, with some of the bigger keys I got last year, like they sit on my wall and I don't really look at them very often. The only one I really check out quite often is the ASM 129. Like if I wouldn't sell the ones I got, but I don't really like. I'm more interested in the most recent one I picked up. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're always on.
Book.
You're on to the next. Yeah, once you get it,
and that's,
you're on to the next. But that on to the next mentality is what engages you back into that community side, talking about it.
But I wonder, why did I spend all the money on that particular book if it brought me joy for all of 10 seconds, right? Like I'm just like, well, I could have got that with a lot less of an outlay financially, I guess. But the goal was for mine to grow in value to sell it down the road. But am I really going to, like Dan, he's collecting 10 of them and he won't sell any of them, right? Nothing wrong with that.
I honestly, I don't know if I feel the exact same. I get a lot of joy just walking in here every day and looking at the books on the wall. Like,
that's
I admire that about you guys having a display, because that's something that I am really missing.
I would rather look at the Dave Stevens books than the Hulk 181 book, to be quite honest with you.
I think JP, the thing, what you're getting at though, is like your tastes are evolving, right? You may have a stronger affinity for the Dave Stevens books than Hulk 181. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Mm-hmm. People collect pre-code horror, people collect good girl, people collect romance. Like you're going down a path. It's a journey, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to always stay on the same path. So you find, and you know what, like you may this year decide, like, you know what, Hulk 181 doesn't do it for you, but I can move that and I can get, you know, Spirit 22, like the all-time good girl cover of all, you know, of ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at that, but those books were almost the ones that I said I wanted as a kid. So I'm going to get them now and have them. And I wouldn't contemplate selling them unless the price is doubled or something. But so they're like, it's like having the right hammer in your toolbox or the right drill driver, whatever it is. You just have it because you knew you needed it. You wanted it as a kid. You wanted those tools to be you know, for that analogy, or the baseball glove, or the, you know, the running shoe, whatever it may be. They're just the stalwart of the collection that you knew you wanted when you were younger, and you wanted to achieve that, but you moved on from there, good or bad. It's still part of the collection, but it's not it what drove you in, but you changed from there. And I wouldn't get rid of them, but I'm just saying, like, the satisfaction of these books.
I think in that case, like, you enjoy having them and like them being part of your collection, but they don't necessarily drive you, or what like keeps you going in the hobby. What keeps you going is that next score, the hunt for those, like that's what's driving you. But what you're saying is you do have an affinity for those books you already have. You like that you have them. And like you're satisfied that you've got them in your collection.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just glad that I have them. But when I started, and our first YouTube video was about the hunt for 181. And I thought for sure I'd find that in a garage sale, flea market somewhere, and I have yet to find it. And I think I've moved past that.
You know what, JP, though? Knowing you, and when I see you get most excited, if you had found that Hulk 181 in a garage sale or at an antique store, that thing would be your crown jewel, and you would you would be so pumped. Like I have no doubt about
Mike's
that.
Archie book. Like if I found something like that, I don't know. Like I would brag to everybody. Like it would just be something I would walk down the street and tell everybody about. Look what I found. Like,
it's a life story for sure.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it goes back to what we have talked about before. Like, would being a ultra rich person be awesome? Like, yeah, there's a lot of positives there, but like this hobby specifically, like it may not be as fun if I could just go buy whatever I wanted. Like if not, there's no story, there's no earning it, there's no tale, there's no community aspect. If I just like, oh, I want that book, I'm gonna go buy it. Like big whoop. Like, you know, obviously there's other benefits of being a billionaire, but
I would enjoy having them as like a bazillionaire. I'd still have my comic book room. I'd have all my 9/8 first appearances, everything, but it wouldn't be as much of an obsession. It would just be a room that I like. Maybe I go watch Marvel movies in there, but it's not like a hobby. It's just a thing I have, right?
It'd be very much like that scene in Iron Man 1 in the beginning when like he's working in his garage. And someone, he's like, who's it that comes down? They're like, oh, this painting can be. He's like, gotta have it, buy it, store it. And it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it's just a place that, you can bring people in to like show it off, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not really like this, doesn't become this like part of your life that like it drives you to get more or anything like that, because you already have it all, right?
Yeah, it's easy to find whenever you have eBay to find stuff. Like my bigger grills all came about through eBay or some consignment sale, whereas some of the smaller mid-tier ones were all finds at antique stores or flea markets, and those are more luck. Like I guess as much when it comes to consignment, if you see it first and it's a good deal, you got lucky, right? If you were able to claim it first. But if it's sitting there for a while and you're like, all right, I'll buy it, you know. But if you walk into that antique store, you walk in the flea market, you were early, or the estate sale early, and you got it, like that, there's a story in that regard, right? There was some.
I mean, and here's the other thing too, JP. Like just because you own Hulk 181 doesn't mean you won't find another one in the scenario that you dream about, right?
I'm hoping I keep looking around for it.
Here's the thing too, right? Like you could find it, and it could, like, yours is a 4045.
40, yep.
You could find one, let's just say theoretically, and it's a 30 condition, right? You may move on from your 40 and keep the 30 because of the sentimental value behind the 30.
I completely agree with. I feel that a lot. Like I'm starting to recognize that. I know that normally people will just go, hey, I'll just keep the higher grade copy and sell the other one. Well, there's a lot of reasons to, depending on how you feel about it, to keep the one that has more sentimental value, even at a lower grade, and move the one that's worth more, because it is worth more.
Exactly that. Like not that this is anywhere near a grail, but I have, you guys all know the Marvel 25 anniversary border books, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had two GI Joe ones. They have Snake Eyes on the cover, which is a cool cover.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the one copy was real low grade, but that's the one I bought at 7-Eleven back in 1985. And I did find a better copy of it, but when somebody wanted it, I gave the better copy. Obviously, that's what they would have wanted, was the better copy, but I had no problem keeping the shitty copy because that's the one I bought, 30 some years ago,
Yeah.
right? Sentimental value. So, just like you said. So,
I hear. I have like basically my collection is like 3 different categories of the collection that defines my collection, which is the X-Men stuff, and then I have the I'm trying to recollect the comics that I remember having as a kid. So it's like then there's that little pile of comics that I don't care what condition it's in because they were all shit, like
right.
and I want to like flip through and be like, I remember this shit, and then I have the stuff that I've bought throughout the years and I just respect or like. It's not X-Men, it's not stuff I owned as a kid, but it's stuff that I think is super cool, like Dark Knight Returns or something like that, like Watchmen, things like that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Stuff you didn't get a chance to read, or not that I read much books, but I mean, if you stuff that you knew that maybe had a cult following after the fact, right? Watchmen.
Yeah, you just feel
series,
cool about
right?
it. It doesn't define your collection, but you love owning it. Yeah.
So, do we want to start showing off some of those
Yeah, I
books
think
that we
that's-
got that mean so much?
Let's do the. So we said, we talked top 10, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 10, and it doesn't have to be in order. But let's go through your top pickups of 2023 as we review the year. Anyone want to volunteer going first?
I'll go.
Let's go.
Right.
All right, let's go, Ryan.
All right, so we got a lot of big books this year, as we discussed. It actually started off with 2 books. This one being the first. I gotta find the best way to. There we go. Juggernaut. I got this. I've said the story before, but Heritage Auctions. It was listed as a 2.5. Got it graded. Came back a 4.5.
Killer.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people scoring like that. Like they find like a raw book that's undergraded in their opinion from the pictures, and yeah.
Did you have to do anything to it to get it to higher grade? As you?
I got it clean and pressed.
Nice.
But came back.
And Ryan, I liked your strategy about like going to Heritage for a lower grade. Like for the people that are balling in Heritage, they're usually going after those
high grade.
So if we're looking at a low grade key that's like small fries to most of these people out there, they're just not even interested in putting a bid on it. So you can sometimes pick up some good deals there.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have to know the value, and you have to also watch that you don't get caught by the buyer's premium on those auctions. But the deals are there for sure. And this is another one, Submariner 1.
Oh, nice.
This was listed as a 7.0, came back a 7.5. So nice little bump on that one too. And like for me with this book, the biggest thing in buying one of these was I wanted to make sure that the blues were strong on this book, because this book fades a lot. So this one was pretty nice. So, and came back at a great grade. So
yeah, 7.5 is pretty high grade in that one.
Yeah,
hard to find those one in that grade. You're paying big money, especially early on in the year. So
yeah, the price. I would have been better off waiting, but whatever. That's the whole. I think we're all.
I think if you're going to buy and you buy a high grade, you're better off in the long run to have that higher grade, right? Because when they do rebound, those ones will rebound faster because there's so much less of them.
Yeah, for sure. And then I shortly thereafter got this one. This was already graded, but love this book.
Yep.
I gotta get another copy of that.
How many do you have, Dan?
I only have one. I only just got the one that I bought like 15 years ago or something.
But it's like a 9.0, isn't it?
It's a 9. Yeah, I graded it. And I was really surprised. Yeah, because I thought it was maybe like a 6 or so. Yeah.
So I started off the year pretty hot with those 3 books, and then I'm probably got some decent books between those three earlier on in the year and this next one. But after this was the big one of the year, and then after this, I just was like, I shot off like a rocket.
Yeah.
Guys, the Grail, my Holy Grail, got it this
Yep.
year. This was
early in the year, or like late in the year.
It was like August or
Nice.
July or August.
And this is a book we've been talking about freely. Like, I am just shocked at how, in my opinion, undervalued this book is.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, but like I love this book a lot more than I like the Hulk 181. And I know that it's almost like twice as expensive, the Hulk 181, but the Giant Size X-Men is like, it's a perfect comic book. It starts and it ends. You have all this character introduction, and it's just an amazing cover, great story. It's got it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a appearance, you know, and like you said, it's an awesome story, and it kicks off like one of the greatest runs of comics in Marvel history.
A lot more significance, more than probably 181, besides the first appearance, but that just kicked off such a storyline.
Yeah.
And this was shortly thereafter, and this was, I actually switched. I wanted to get an Iron Man 1 this year, ended up getting this and switched my goal to this. but in the end, I probably could have got the Iron Man 1 based on all the books I got, but I got my 94, which is a great follow-up to the GSX 1.
With the
I just got
cover.
this back from CGC, got this reholdered, which was actually, I showed it off in my video today.
Yeah, I watched that today.
Yeah. And game, what is it? Why am I tripping? It's a YouTube channel, Bronze and Modern Gods. They were talking about the Giant Size X-Men versus 94, because 94 has such a lower count on the census, and before, I don't know, a certain threshold, around 2000, or I don't know, maybe the late 90s or something. I don't know exactly when. 94 was a more valuable book than GSX.
I also think, though, the census count is a little tricky to think about, right? Because like, I bet people have graded way more GSX 1s than 94s.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and the census, I'm sorry to even use that as a data point, because I feel like it gets overused, especially now with the stuff that's coming to light. Like, the census is a liar in a way, because a lot of people will resubmit and not send in their
exactly. And that's also another book that's a perfect example. There's another book that like people may not find the value to CPR it, whereas GSX 1 could be a significant value boost if you are to CPR it and score. So
I bought that 94 thinking I was going to crack and press it, but then after getting some second opinions, it seemed a little more risky, so I just ended up reholdering it.
The 94, you mean?
Maybe I could have got a bump, but it just wasn't worth the risk.
It wasn't worth all the hassle.
I didn't. Going under 7 would have really bothered me. So 7 kind of feels like a threshold for me. Like,
baller.
Not to say I don't mind. Like, this next book's not going to be a 7, but I just feel like a certain way above a 7 than I do under a 7.
It's right in between that high grade, mid grade that feels pretty solid.
Yep.
Another one I just got back recently. This was a win in my very mediocre vintage submission, but I bought this probably it was probably priced around a 5.0 to a 5.5, and it came back a 6.5. So this was a really good win. Nice Ghost Rider book. And then bought this. These are all books I bought in the fall in the last couple of months. I love this book.
I love it. I could not believe when I showed that one on the thread for like, was it $90? And nobody, I was like, how is nobody here grabbing this book? Like, I couldn't believe it.
Pretty sure it was dog shit.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like it was probably like a 3.0 or 4.0, but like for that price, like.
Did someone get it? Is it still available?
No, it got picked up by someone else.
I think I had bought this already when you
yeah, I knew there was a number of us there that did have it.
I'm hunting. I'm looking for it.
This
I
is
like
over
it.
a 5 for sure. I would say this is probably like a 6 to a 6.5.
Yeah.
But maybe
I'm
could be-
holding out till I find a 35-cent variant.
There you
That's
go.
gonna cost you
That
some
one.
money, but that would be
That'd be
sweet.
cool.
I think that's
But
the
I
second,
love
the
this
second most
cover. This
valuable.
cover's just
35.
so good. Like, what an awesome debut cover
100%. Yeah.
for a major
Yeah.
film.
I totally agree. I love the cover. I definitely want the book. I kind of feel like, I don't think it's overvalued, but I'm surprised that it is so expensive. Is there just
It
like
is-
not that
it is-
many copies?
is a
Because it's a
valuable one.
villain. Like, you know, it's not like he's a super like leading villain that people. Well, I guess people
he's
do.
a leading X-Men villain, and
You know what I think it is,
You're right.
Dan?
You're right.
I think it's because of his association with Wolverine.
yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Wolverine
especially with
is-
Wolverine and
When
X-Men,
it comes to X-Men, Wolverine's the guy, and he's
his number
the
one.
number one, right?
That's valid.
I think
Well,
that's
that-
where it comes from.
But look what they did to Sabretooth in the Wolverine Origins, right? When they redid and they changed the character and they brought Liev Schreiber in. Is that
I
his
actually
name?
like
yeah.
Liev Schreiber as
I do
as-
too. I do too. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that setup. I don't think that's comic book accurate, correct?
No.
But
The-
I don't think
the-
I don't think necessarily the Sabretooth from X-Men 1 was comic book accurate.
But a
either.
little
Oh, it was
closer.
closer.
But
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one, he didn't talk at all.
That's what I'm
So
saying. He was
didn't
just
have
like
that-
an animal. He was literally like an animal.
He didn't
Yeah.
have that personality that Sabretooth has,
Yeah.
which is just absolutely like smug and like vicious. And Liev Schreiber had that personality, just didn't have the look down. But I
Yeah.
like them as Sabretooth. Here's a movie I'm hoping gets done well.
That looks good.
And not because I have the book, but because I loved the original.
Yeah, as
movie.
a kid.
And,
Oh, Blade.
Well, nothing beats
Oh.
that opening scene with the blood and the
Oh,
rave.
Blood
the
Rave
I
is
love
Blood-
so
oh,
good in
man,
that
so
music.
good.
I don't think it
When
could
the
ever be
rave.
topped.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I'd love them to do like a very similar scene to open the Blade movie, like as an homage to the first.
Oh, dude, yeah,
movie.
they absolutely.
The problem
will.
is they'll do it. It'll be like a Taylor Swift song playing in the
Oh,
background when the blood.
No,
falls.
no. They won't. That would be the most
Yeah.
Disney thing ever. But I hope not.
No, it'll be Taylor Swift. What's her song? Bad Blood. Isn't that a song? And then the
Mhm.
blood starts.
See,
I'm not even.
now it's
I don't-
ruined, Rohan. You ruined it.
Yeah.
I am
But,
going to sing that song in my head
There's also
every
a
time I see
video
this
game.
comic
There's
now.
a Blade video game coming out. The trailer looks really
Oh.
good.
Oh, actually, I did see that trailer just recently. Yeah.
Like in a barber shop. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But yeah, got this one earlier. Like I got this this arrived the day after Halloween. I was like,
Oh,
it would have been great to
man.
show it off on my Halloween video, but
Next year.
Yeah. next year.
What grade would you think that is? That it looks really
it's
nice.
low. It's a G. The seller said it was a good plus. So
Oh wow, it looks really good for
Yeah,
that. I mean, at least from
that
what
could
I'm
be like
seeing.
that. The Mylar Magic, baby.
That's
like-
yeah,
true.
it is.
I love
It's
magic.
definitely like
Where's
I
the
don't know,
creases?
It's got like significant.
Spine wear. Yeah.
Spine
it's the
Yeah.
Mylar, but that's
And
nice
then
part
down
about
here-
Mylar.
Down here in the corner, there's like multiple color breaking.
It looks
lines.
great.
No,
Looks great to
but
me.
that's my look. I'm
That's
all for
exactly
low-
what you would like,
That's
right,
exactly
Rohan?
what I look for. I look
Yeah.
for low grade that presents beautifully because that's all I care about. Like, and then you get that low grade price for a book that looks perfect or not perfect, but like great. All
Yeah.
in.
Dig it.
So my last two books are my last two big monster purchases of the year. I showed them on Only Slabs, but I haven't released the video on my channel for these
Oh,
books.
cool.
That's coming out in the next couple days. But this was a big one.
Sneak peek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
FF 52, first Black
This-
Panther.
This is a book that is
I like the custom label.
absolutely criminally undervalued in my opinion.
It is.
Like,
It dropped
So
off so
historically
hard.
significant.
So
Let me-
crazy to me how cheap.
Let me
this
ask a
thing was.
question. I don't remember Black Panther in the 90s. Was
Oh, I
he?
do. I loved it because
I
I just remember the Marvel card of him. I loved it.
You know
I
why
don't- I
I, do
don't-
Black Panther? Because of the Masterpiece 94 set, and that card is so dope.
Yeah.
Like, it's so well done, and that's
If
why
they
I
weren't-
knew Black Panther.
If they weren't the X-Men world or Spider-Man world, I didn't know them back then, or they weren't Image. Let's say McFarlane, Liefeld, Jim
Mhm.
Lee. I didn't know them, and like I wasn't even in the Fantastic Four either. The only guy in Fantastic Four I liked was the Human Torch.
I
and so I
honestly
didn't even know of the Black Panther.
I wonder actually how much of a presence he even had in the comics during the 90s.
Yeah, it was
Like,
like it was
I
more
feel
about
like-
like the New Warriors and like Night
Yeah.
Thrasher or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
he was, definitely not in kind of the
Zeitgeist.
of that time, right? So
Yeah.
And that's
but,
what I mean. When they
I
came
mean-
out with that movie, I was like, why are they making a movie? But I don't remember him.
so important now, and I mean he's iconic now after the movie.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Such a sick cover on it. And then what's on the comic wrap threw out earlier about asking about the custom labels, what we think. And I agree with you, JT. That's one of those books that custom label looks really nice on.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, because you got that yellow kind of sun to match the yellow.
It's exactly
From the card, or was that
Silhouette
from a
and
book?
moon. Mhm.
No, that's the cover of a newer Black Panther book. I don't remember the number.
But it works.
It's a brick wall that's
Yeah.
I'm guessing like a light shining on him.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, it looks great with the book.
It looks good.
All right, last one.
Yeah, baby.
Oh man,
seen
look at
that one
that
coming
grade
up.
on that.
First Thanos, first Star
Drax.
Fox, first Drax the Destroyer,
Blood Brothers.
Blood Brothers, and Chronos.
Eros and
Yeah,
Chronos.
it's a big first
Wow.
appearance book, and it's
It's
dope.
an 8. That's a VF, and that's an old label. Is that?
I'm gonna reholder this in the new year at some point.
Yeah, mine's an old label too, and it drives me crazy. It's my only old label book.
I hate old label books.
Yeah.
I have one other one, but it's a yellow label, and it's my Wolverine remark on a blank cover, smoking a cigar, and I'll eventually probably reholder that one too. But.
Is it just more the case that you guys don't like, or is it the?
Oh, I hate it's the
I
label.
hate the case. I don't like the label either.
Well, not only that, the label is also like in there very loose, so they get wavy.
Yeah, I understand.
And it just looks so cheap. It looks so cheap to me.
And the grade's actually more faded. Like it's far more,
it's not as bold,
they use a blacker ink on the new labels and stuff, and then they don't have the white pages or off white or anything on here. It's like hidden into, or it's right under here.
Comic shop. What up?
Yeah, Joseph, what's up?
That's
So do you think that you're going to try to upgrade it, or are you just going to send it in for the reholder process?
Oh, that's just the reholder process.
But it's the same price. Why not just go for why not try to press it? Because
I'll be heartbroken if it comes.
It's not the same price, Dan. A reholder is only $19.
No, $50 now. Check the website.
Okay, but I mean, still with a CPR with that book at an 8.0 range, he's going to have to do walkthrough, right? So you're at $150 there.
Why you got to do a walkthrough?
Because anything above $1,000 in value is automatic walkthrough.
I'll be honest. I don't know if this would get an 8.0 now.
All right. Yeah, fair enough.
You take in shipping, cleaning and pressing, like it's still way cheaper to rehold.
But if they reholder it, can't they change the grade? Or
no, they will never give you a bump on it. If anything, they'll take it down. If they notice a damage, then they'll regrade it. Is my understanding.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they notice it's damage, if they're like, "Oh, there's damage here," and then
if they get a higher grade, damage it when they crack it, they'll lower it, but you're not going to get a bump on it.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the fact you could get it lower would piss me off. So
yeah,
that's exactly the risk you're running.
Yeah, and that's why they have you sign that waiver. That's like anything can happen if we crack your slab. Yeah. All right, I'll go next here, which is
thanks, Ryan, for sharing those. Go ahead, Rowan.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been nice living vicariously through you, Ryan, for sure.
So I got the picture since I'm at my parents' house.
Look at this presentation, man.
Yeah, baby. So as you know, when I do lists, I always like to do the honorable mentions as well. So I think I have 14 books I'm going to show here. So first honorable mention, Batman 251. Got a great deal on this from my guy Lawrence at Mighty Comics. He showed it and he's like, "This is up for sale." I hit him up and he was like, "Yeah, for you, I'll give it to you for this." I was like, "Done." So that was an easy one for me. Iron Fist, first Iron Fist, right? Marvel Premiere 15. Another book I really like, and I was just waiting find one for a screaming deal, and I found this one, and it was kind of a no-brainer. This was from a new guy on Instagram. I can't remember his name. Comic Collective, maybe? I can't remember. And then similar to go with Marvel Premiere 15, you need Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, #1. I got this at a con, and it was honestly, I kind of bought it. I wanted this book, but it was like I was in that situation where it was like everything at the con was overpriced, and I was just so annoyed. But I was like, I got to pick up something, and I found a decent deal on this, and so I picked it up.
That's one I need.
Yeah. And I actually really like this cover too. And I didn't realize I didn't realize until after he passed this year, but this is John Romita Sr.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this was never one that I'm like, oh, I gotta have it. But every time I see it, I'm like, I kind of.
It looks so good. That trade dress looks so cool.
Yeah, it's so good.
By the way, can you hear my daughter like screaming in the background? She's like playing a
little
video
bit.
game.
That's
Just
fine.
I heard a little bit.
Right,
All good.
My bad.
Yeah. All right, and then my last honorable mention is my Submariner one. So this is actually the second copy I had. So I found it was just another one was like I want to scream and deal on, and I found one for a low grade one. And then after I got it, Mark from Collectibles posted this one for super cheap, which is like I think like a 7.0-ish is where he had it. And I just like traded him straight up. It was like the old lower grade one and like $50. And so that
Those
was really
blues are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
A nice copy.
So number 10, we'll say. Actually, this is one of my more recent pickups. So Daredevil 181, first appearance of Elektra. Again, just another one I found a good deal on Instagram. This one, so Avengers 57, obviously first Vision. Again, you'll hear me say this a lot. Like there are a lot of books I want, but I'm focusing on other books. And so my mindset is like find the screaming deal and then you pick it up. So I've talked to you guys in the chat about Chef Grundy. He posts books for sale. He's the guy that Chris from the A1 comic stores live sales. He posts books. And when they sit for like 2 weeks, he'll then just post on his story 50% off anything on my page. And so this book he had as like he has it as a 3.0. I feel like it's probably lower there because you can see here it's got this big tear in it when you look at it. Anyway,
Where's
so the price he had right here
on the left.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. So right there on the left, right by the guy underneath Vision's right leg. And so he had it at a price. I was like, it's a fine price, but I bet no one picks this. I just was like, I kind of speculated. I was like, no one's gonna buy this book because of that tear. And when it goes 50% off, I'm jumping on it. And that's kind of exactly what happened. So I scored that from Chef Grundy. Same thing here. Like this was Mr. Franks on Instagram.
Franks and Beans.
Yeah. He's a guy I found recently, and he's got good deals when he posts books. So I would definitely follow him if you're not. This was my steal of the year. I think a lot of you guys have heard my story. I was at the comic shop that I did go to. It was he's been in business for 33 years. He retired to go to Thailand for a couple years. And I was at his shop the last day, and I'm walking around looking at the wall, and he had this book on the wall. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw the price tag on it, and it was $40. And I was like, Jeff, what's going on here? And so Jeff's the kind of guy, he is a high grade snob, like when you see like his own personal collection. And so when he gets these books that he's deemed low grade, he like literally just gives them away. And so this is when I was like, what is going on here? He's like, oh, cover's detached. And I was like, but it's complete. And he's like, yeah. I was like, no restoration. He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm buying this. He's like, you don't care about the cover being detached? I was like, for $40? No, not at all. Like $40, I feel like for a coverless of this book is a steal. Like, so yeah. So I take this again, a perfect example. Cover detached. That's something that I will take all day, especially on like the big books. Like, because I think it kind of maxes out your value at like a 2.0. But like if it's in a slab, let's just say, or I mean, even in this bag, you can't tell that cover is detached. What do I care? Like, I'll take that all day. Moving on. I also got an X-Men 101 like Ryan. I traded this one with what is his name? Neo Geo Comics, I think is his name. Neo, I think something like that.
You have a good memory, man. I can't remember half the time who I bought things from.
Yeah, this was a trade. I traded a Batman 189 and a Wolverine 1 and got this.
Although I would remember a trade. Trade's a little bit easier to remember.
Silver Surfer 3. Who did I get this from? Was this this was Nexo Comics. He's also another good person I would recommend to follow. He's got great deals, and he's also always willing to accept offers. And so he had this at this price. I showed him a recent sale that was much lower, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And then that was it. So Batman 181. This is also another trade with Mark from Collectibles, who I've gotten so many of my books from. I've talked about a lot on the channels. I traded.
This is the first DC book on the list, I think.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna say
it is.
first DC.
No, my Batman 251 was an honorable mention.
Oh
I
yeah,
forgot.
right.
Yeah.
So I traded. This was like
Again with that memory.
one of those trades that Mark just let me trade a pile of significantly cheaper books to get this book, which is what I've done with him.
I tried to do that with Mark this year on a Marvel Spotlight 5. I sent him a bunch of slabs and he's like, "No, I'm actually pretty picky about what I traded," and he had no interest.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely books that fit what he sells, and I had, I traded like
I thought they were, but no.
like I know one of the
He
books
did
I
the same
traded-
thing to me.
I know JP's like so butthurt about that. But I know like one of the books I traded for him for this was like a FF72, right? Which I love. Obviously, it's a Silver Surfer on that orange background. But that's the kind of book you see in his Whatnot sale every week. And so it was books like that.
I offered him it was a bunch of books, but one of them was my Moon Knight 9-2, but no taker.
No taker. All right, moving on here. My 129. This was one of my I had two gold books for the year in 2023, and it was this and Hulk 181. So I got this shortly after my Hulk 181, which brings up and then
great grade too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one I was pretty pumped with the grade.
I thought we got Hulk 181 last year.
Yeah, we did. I'm not done yet. I got two more books.
No, but I said you said that this one and Hulk 181 were you two books.
Were my two like priority books that I put on my wish list for this year. And so I got Hulk 181 first, which you'll see here in a sec. And then I got this one after is what I was saying. And then this is my recent big boy pickup is Daredevil 1 in a 3.0. Super pumped. I used New Mutants 98, ASM 300, FF12. I was okay with moving my FF12 because I love that book because it was a UK price variant, which I want in an American version because that little like 9D in the big bubble, it really bothered me.
Don't hate on the UK price variants, bro.
And ASM 238. And that's what got me this book. And I worked that out with Diamond Comic Club.
Nice.
And then last but not least, Hulk 181. I never thought I'd be able to get a 5.5, and it just kind of worked out. And I moved probably 25, 30 books to do this one. There's a whole laundry list of them, but yeah, this book will definitely be forever.
You did move that many?
Yeah, not in a single deal. Like it was like I traded some, I sold some. Like this was a whole and like when we talked about our episode with our hunt for 181, like we kind of talked about how our method was to build up to get this book, and I did exactly that. Like I think it was about 25 books I moved to get to this. So yeah, those are my books for 2023.
I thought for sure we got Hulk 181 in 2022, but
no, it was February. It was February. I think it was February, and then I got 129 in March or March, April. I think it was February and March for me.
Okay. Well, if you want me to go next, I can go next, and we'll let Dan go last. How's that work?
Yeah,
definitely. I don't have the bangers, but go for it.
Let's see here. Do I have to be change the screen here?
Are you doing the share?
Yeah, I'm going to share this. So I seriously thought I got 129. I know I got in 2022, and I got I thought I got Hulk this year. I think I got X-Men, Giant Size X-Men.
You definitely got Hulk 181 this year, JP, because you got it after me.
Right, and I thought the X-Men came this year. So none of those are on this list. What's on the list is the last item here, which is this. Well, the first one I'm going to show is this Ghost Rider. And this was one of those ones that was just like the last of the Bronze Age books that was in that Hulk 181, ASM 129, ASM or Giant Size X-Men, like that list of the ones to have of the Bronze Age books, right? I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of them. I think the only one I'm missing is that either the Sabretooth one or Iron Fist. Which one is considered the better one? Which one's on that bronze list? I can't think of it right now, but this was like the last one I wanted out of that group, and I'm not a huge Ghost Rider fan, but the deal was there, and I think Mike got a 3.0 for like $300 less than I got for this one. I'd have been just as happy with a 3.0 just because I wanted a copy of it that was graded, right? So when
he got it right after you, right?
Right, like the week after or like 2 days after. So happy to have it, but again, it had nothing to do with wasn't one that I wanted, that I had a preference on the grade just to have the copy of it. So as you'll see in this next book, this one I was just happy to have it in grade, and you can see my version of Fantastic Four number 52 is a 2.0 version I got off someone on Facebook, and I saw the right price. It's got some damage on the left side here. I mean, really presents well right where Black Panther is and the moon there. But I really wasn't one I wanted, but the deal came across, and I thought, we're playing this Marvel Series 3 game. I might as well get as many first appearances as I can for as cheap as I can. So this one came across, and I jumped on it. So those were like probably the two bigger graded books that were, let's say, on a list somewhere, because I didn't really have a list this year after 181, Giant Size, and ASM 129. Those were like those were my, or I want to say Giant Size X-Men, ASM 129, and Hulk 181. Those are the three that I had on my list, and these next two were just ones I crossed off the list. But I got more excitement out of getting books like this ASM 41, first appearance of Rhino. It's got a big rip down the corner, down in the middle here. I don't know if you guys can see it pretty well or not. Let's see if I can get it bigger. There we go. Rip right down the side here. I didn't care. Yeah. I got it for under $200. Yeah, tape is over. I love this book. So I was like, presents well, look good in Mylar. I was cool with it. So that one was one. Picked up this X-Men. This is 266. I think this is like a 9.0 or better. I got it for $40. I mean, at this antique shop, it was not in a long box. It was in the guy's case because he put some stuff in a case, some in a long box. You got this. This one is you can see some indentations. Like this was before I finished pressing it, and I'm not saying I'm a great presser, but I was able to get most of it out, and it's a newsstand, like for $40. I mean, I just found it was a hard.
Even
one
if
to
it's
beat.
a 7.0, it's a great price.
Yeah, for being a newsstand if I do get it graded. So I was happy with that one. Let's see what else we can. This is a weird one. Found this one at some weird antique bookstore in Philadelphia. You guys, I mean, it's a weird book, but it's one you don't see very often. It's the first card-looking comic book, I guess they'll call it. It has some significance in that regard. It's this weird character named Scud, but I got it for like $3. Now it wasn't the best condition. I pressed it to make it look nicer. Eventually sold it, but it's not one you see every day. And that's like what drives me, is hunting these books and just finding these deals. Like Robin, this one is the newsstand second print. I found this at a comic book store in one of their long boxes of new arrivals, marked for $8. Now this book is probably $100, maybe a little bit less. So what's significant about life-changing deal.
What's the big deal about this book, JP?
They made the first print could be newsstand, but it says something about a poster being here, whereas this one says the adventure begins and has the newsstand. So this is the rarer second print is what this one is. And I thought I'd find it in a while, and I eventually did. Didn't take very long, but I found it. Haven't seen another one since, but it's just a hard one to find. That you see this book a lot in long boxes because it's Robin #1. Who the hell cares? But this particular version is the rare second print that most people would look past. But for some reason, my eye was trained to look for the newsstand version and this little little marker over here about the adventure begins. So, like, just looking for shit like that.
Wow, good recognition. I would have passed right by that.
Yeah, I only knew about that after JP.
Nice work.
Silverhawks.
So those you guys that played Silverhawk back in the day or had the toys, I didn't have them, but again,
I watched the
newsstands
show.
for $1. I never even heard of the show, but someone talked about it. I think Froggy Flips talked about Silverhawks, or Como Comics.
No,
talked
we
about
talked
it
about it
us.
in our interview with Como, and then you got it like the next week. I feel like
Como, yeah. And I finally got the next week because it's top of mind. So I mean, little things like that. Like, I mean, is it worth a ton? $50 maybe. It was probably worth $100 during the boom, but you know, it wasn't. It's not a huge fine, but shit, for $1, I'll take it. This Detective Comics, the Oreo version of it here, the Oreo cookies version. It looks like the original, except for the free right here. It has the faded cover. It's a cool book, you know. That was $1 find, you know. So little things like that just push me. Here's one everyone loves. Pee Wee Herman auction find. Right after he passed away, I found him at an auction. The live action, the doll that talks, you know. And I got that for a pretty good price back then. But I did
you sell that already?
Yeah, I sold that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I bought it for 15. I sold it for 150, something like that. So
good return.
You got your, yeah. I mean, I'm all about that. This is one we got from Cheese, right?
Cheddar Comics, yeah.
Cheddar Comics. So, one I wanted, again, I wasn't looking for, but the deal was there. I didn't find it in a long box. It's a hard one, I think, to find in the wild. You know, I think these Neil
Adams,
these covers themselves are just hard to find out in the wild. You may get lucky, but I just think they're kind of coveted and people hold these to the side. So those couple deals here and there, I would have bought. Another one that I wanted in my collection, ASM 100. I know, Rohan, you don't like this cover, but I just have always had.
You don't like that cover? I love that cover.
I think this cover. I don't know why. Maybe it's I don't like the black background with all the heads.
I got a good deal on it. Again, I
love it. I love it.
But it's one I saw when I got back into collecting. I could never find it for a good deal. I finally did. It took a while, but I got it. It's not one I found in a long box for cheap. But these next couple were all antique store finds for cheaper than I would have thought. You know, I never thought I'd find some of these. And again, they're not all the highest grade. So you got this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not a huge key, but an iconic cover. It's got a cut out of the bottom up here. That's why it was priced out. It wasn't $1, let's put it that way, but it was one that you pay a hell of a lot more money for it, and you can't even notice the rip on it if you just how you display it. So it's just iconic in regard to having in your collection. But the rest of these are all like dollar finds will show, and this is my favorite one out of those dollar finds was this third printing of the Hulk book. I never thought I'd find that in the wild, and it's just
yeah, like this.
I don't know how rare it is, but it's I have all three now.
This to me is like JP's, like this is what gets him going. Like, you were so proud when you got this book. Like, I think this is what excites you the most, in my opinion.
Is this one extra rare?
Yeah, the third print is.
Yes,
and this goes for like $300-$400.
The third print, I wish.
Wow.
Yeah, if this was in higher grade, it'd have been $1,000 book. But it's got a tear up top here. I was just pissed because this guy must have bought a collection, and he was just going through them at this antique store. He's a super nice guy, and he said, "I'll price them out whenever you bring them up. Bring the ones up that you want." And I knew what this one was and brought it up to him, and given the condition and the stack of books I had, he gave me a good deal on all of them together. So it wasn't more than $1 for this book. I don't know if I could probably get $200-$300 for it if I wanted to sell it.
Do you think he knew what it was?
I don't know. He had he took all the books and did all the pricing. So unless he got confused on the different first, second, or third print, I don't know.
But that was the most valuable stack, right?
Yeah. But I don't know if he was using a black and white book, so it's hard to tell this one versus the green and the other type, the green and pink. like this. It's a brighter green. On them.
Are you saying he priced it out with like the Overstreet?
Yeah, he used an Overstreet price guide.
Hey, you're gonna win anytime they use that, right? For grading or for pricing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'll take all that, and just I never thought I'd find it, and I was just excited to get that one, and I wish it was in a much higher grade. That seems to be my problem, is I find them, but they're not in the highest grade that could really make a difference with that. But the other ones that were fairly cheap, I'll show real quick here. These ones weren't as cheap as I'd hoped, but ones you don't really like see laying around in an antique store. This was perfect for Halloween. It's a Bernie Wrightson cover. I mean, it's a pretty higher end book, those of you that know it. And it's not one that you see very often at all, including this next one too. The first Good Girl cover of the Silver Age, we'll call it. Who the hell thinks you're going to find that in an antique store, for pretty cheap price? So, I mean, I was just excited to run into those last two because you see them and they're usually hundreds of dollars, and you can find it for, a quarter of that price. But let's say these next couple were probably my best pickups of the year. And we'll start with not really a comic book. Went to an estate sale. Missed out on the comics because I was a day late. I didn't read the ad right. Picked up this Breezy Stories for $5. It was in a frame. Put on eBay. By the next day, I ended up selling this thing for about almost 10 times what I paid for it. So
Nice.
I was pretty happy with that. That pickup, 1939 pulp story. I had no pictures inside, just all old ads, and all these stories of sex stories from the 30s, promiscuous discussion stuff. Like, who the hell would have thought?
And then I caressed her elbow.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? But hey, man, and that's what that got me into, let's say, the golden age. You got your Phantom Lady.
Yeah, this is nice.
Found that antique store. Here's a golden age. I mean, it's detached cover. It's as bad a shape as your Tomb of Dracula, but it's complete in regard to cover and inside. It's missing the poster, so we'll call it incomplete, but like storyline, cover looks really good, even though it's detached.
Yeah.
To find that for fairly cheap. Who'd have thought you'd find a Phantom Lady at the antique store?
No, I think that's a great score.
Or Schomp.
Yeah, Matt
Schomburg
Baker,
cover right
Schomburg, like those are huge.
Comic. To find those for in an antique store laying on top of a stack of other comics.
Killer score.
And this one I just picked this up yesterday at my auction.
Oh, good.
This is 1947. I got it, and I sold it that night.
Oh, no way!
But yeah,
that's the way you
ended up selling that
though.
night. So I mean,
if it's not to keep, it's so much easier to get rid of everything.
Who would have thought?
Nice work.
Yeah, I mean that you find the opportunity of something somebody else may find benefit in, and I'm not looking to flip books to make my living. I'm looking to flip books to buy the books that I would rather have found in the wild. And this is one of those ones that somebody else got enjoyment from. I was able to sell. Same with this one here. $8 find. First African American hero in comics.
Yeah.
Lobo.
And you sold this for like $400, didn't you?
$8.
Oh, no way. You didn't keep this
Something
one?
like that,
It's
pretty
Lobo.
Yeah.
I know, but it's not the Lobo that I knew from the 90s.
True.
It would have been cool to keep, but I don't know why I didn't keep it. I just think because it had a little bit of damage on the sides, and I don't know. I just found I was like, well, if I bought it for $8 and could sell it for this, why not sell it? I'll find another copy somewhere else, maybe. But that was my thought. But my last one, my best find of the year, we'll say, or my favorite find, is this Captain Britain.
With the mask.
First full appearance of Captain Britain with mask. This has got to be. I'm going to say it's a 9. It's at least an 8.5, if not a 9.2. I'm going to say
such a cool book.
somewhere in
Dang,
that
where
range.
did
So
you get the flag to place down for the image of that?
at the auction the
You gotta
next
pull
week.
out.
Yeah, it was at the auction the next week. I found this book at a paper sale up about 40 minutes north of me, and then I went to the auction the next Tuesday, and this was left over in the free pile, this UK flag. So worked out perfect.
And sorry, did you say the mask is intact? It's in
So
there.
pretty cool.
Yeah, the mask is in there.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So
All right,
$40
Dan.
fine.
Man. Yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
awesome, dude. Like I kind of got the way that I did my top picks was pretty much like more like a highlight sort of a situation. Than like it's not necessarily like my favorite things, but it's the things that were I think most impactful. So one of the things I got was like earlier this year, my comic shop was doing a 50% off sale. And so I got this one. It's really high grade Aliens 1 first print. And it also has the signature of the I'm not a big signature fan, but I like him on the splash page. It's the writer there.
Yeah.
And then
What'd you get that book for?
What's that?
What'd you get that
$20. $20. Yeah. And it's like at least like a 9.2, maybe a near mint. I picked this one up at the it's a Spider-Man 33. It's in pretty rough shape. But it was $30, and it was at the
oh man,
what's it called? Frankenstein comic swap with Big B McFly that I went with.
Nice.
So that was
Good
like,
cover.
Sorry.
Such a good cover. I love that book.
Yeah. It's really rough, but like you can see, there's a lot of chipping. But it's such a sick cover. Ditko, I believe it's like one of his later issues, and like I really love the emotional first couple pages in this about him thinking about his life and how he let people down and how he needs to dig deep to bring out the strength, that spider strength. So, a couple of non-X-Men books that I really enjoy having in my collection. And
that's a great storyline either way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was with Big B McFly. That's where I met him for the first time. And that was earlier this year when was that?
I guess like a couple months ago.
Probably in the fall, right?
Yeah. And also, so then to kind of lead into it, me and Big B McFly went and did a trade where I went over to his house. He's like a couple hours, a little less than 2 hours away from me. And I went up to meet with him. We spent the day together, and I've already told the whole story about this on Ryan's show. Spare you. But basically, like, I walked away feeling like I didn't get what I wanted, right? Like it wasn't his fault. He didn't take advantage of me or anything like that. It was just that I traded away big books and felt like I didn't really like get anything I was really wanting for myself. But I did get some stuff that I felt was some fun stuff that I may end up selling or whatever. Like for example, this one 340, it's probably like a near mint minus. And it's also signed by the writer on the inside splash page.
Isn't that Jim?
Oh, what's his name? Gosh, I got to open it up. Peter David.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Batman 423 is Jim Starlin.
Oh, gotcha.
The McFarlane cover and then the writer. I was trying to think.
Gotcha. I have another copy that I traded for. I've only gotten this book in a trade. I have another copy of this that I got in a trade from Wanderlust Comics on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And I traded a Wolverine 1, the Frank Miller one for this, and it's probably like a 9.4 is what I'm hoping for. It's in getting graded. I'll probably sell that 9.4 is my hope, is what I get for it, for more comics, right? And probably keep this one. This one's probably 9 or a 9.2 is my guess. There's a couple of spine ticks, but otherwise looking really good. So that was one I got from him, Big B. And here's another one I got from Big B. It's the Detective Comics 144. I don't think there's any significance to it, and it's got like some tape on the spine, and you can see there's like a chunk missing there. But just a 1948, I think, 1949 comic.
The weird updraft cover.
They farted. Is that your name? They farted and their capes pop up. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna, and somebody's shooting. So that's fun. It's just fun to have that. And one of the things. Oh, here's another one that I got from
Yeah, love that one.
316 there.
Love that book.
So those are kind of like some of the bigger books, and then I got like a run of Watchmen and some Walking Dead and some other stuff. I traded away like just duplicate X-Men things that I have. One of the books I traded him was a X-Men 14. Luckily, I have 2 more of them, so it wasn't so. And this one I got for $100 on eBay, and it's probably like a VG minus.
You should just go after the entire Silver Age run.
Yeah, like I know what, like I like the Sentinels. I know what I like. I don't love the stories in the older Silver Age X-Men.
I mean, there's a reason why they had to reboot it. Essentially, and they did.
Yeah, like I don't love the characters. They're always like featuring Angel, who's just like a rich like douche that can fly and carry people. It's just like and there's like so much word bubbles that you're just like, dude, you did not need to like say all like it's just so.
But here's the thing, though, right? Like you like Sentinels, regardless of what happened then. Sentinels are a huge X-Men villain.
Absolutely.
What you should do is take those other 2 copies and then make that a Juggernaut.
I do want a Juggernaut. I don't have a Juggernaut. I don't have a Sabretooth. So those are books that I want to get. And yeah, this is on the chopping block since I have, a 5 of this. Rich douche, I think is what I said. Mr. Akins. Oh, and I apologize. My daughter, we just got like a Super Nintendo Mini like a little while ago, and my daughter's like obsessed with Super Mario Brothers. So she dies and screams.
It's fun.
What's that?
I said that's fun.
It is. It's been a lot of fun. I've got a couple of the X-Men 141 and 142s on eBay. $60 for the set, each of them. I think I got one of the sets for 70 and the other set for 60. So just like these were just like big come ups, right? Or like what would you call it? Like the score, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, that's like way underpriced. Another like one that I got this one for $50. It's probably like what did I put it at? VG minus. So nothing great, but it's all
that was one I saw on Instagram, and it was $35. And I was like, oh, I'm going to claim that. And then someone already claimed. I was like,
yeah, it always happens, right? This was, I don't really like Havoc either. It's just that I knew it was a good value. And I do love the way that they draw his superpowers. I think it's really cosmic.
I always thought he was cool like that, with just being able to throw out those energy blasts. It was always cool, I thought.
Yeah, it's really cool graphically. Giant Size X-Men I got, and this was my first like comic collection, you could say, that I bought. It's the only one I've ever bought like of a comic collection. This Dan hates Havoc. So this isn't really like a great score for me because I paid $1,800 for the collection. We agreed on, I said like, hey, I'll pay you like $1,200 is my offer. When I texted him, it was a Craigslist find, and he had like other comics in that sort of like just the things that I collect. So he had a Spider-Man 316. He had a lot of the John Byrne X-Men run. They were all like mid-grade. This is probably like a VG is what I put it at. But then later I knew right away when I opened the comic at home, because we met in a bar and everything looked awesome. And I was like, I've never seen a cover so glossy in my life. And I was like, and then on the inside of this, it has Dave Cockrum's signature.
Oh, nice.
And I'm pretty sure that's legit. You can see how shiny it is.
Yeah,
that is. Wow.
It's probably reglossed. I'm pretty confident it's reglossed. But yeah, it has the Dave Cockrum signature
Very
there.
cool.
I'm pretty sure it's legit. Just because
I've never seen his signature.
Oh, well, take another look. It's and like the reason why I think that's legit is because like there's other spots that could be like color touched that aren't color touched, and like I think a lot of people would regloss back in the day just because they're like they want to just make their copy look good. It's not necessarily like they're trying to fool anybody with anything. Anyway, so I'm really stoked to have a cover copy. I have another one that has like Rat Shoe and doesn't have a Doesn't have any no cover.
What would a reglossing do if you took it into grade?
They
get
give you a
purple?
purple label. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like I think I just like it raw, and it's like it's a VG anyway, so it's like, and I'm not gonna try to I'm not trying to scam people. I like multiple copies of my favorite books, so this one's staying. I'll have this one, I'll have the coverless, and then eventually I'd like another copy at like an 8. Eventually is the goal.
Wolverine's comic shop just said use a black light that it'll tell you everything you need to know.
I did use a black light that night. Nothing shows up as far as it's like a weird resin. The way that I was able to tell is I was talking to this guy. He's Dr. Paul from is what I call him, but he has a YouTube channel. He does restoration and or conservation rather than restoration. And he's super knowledgeable. He has the hugest all-star comic books. And everything, and he's just an awesome dude, and he helped me out try to find what constitutes certain types of restoration, and he helped me find like if a comic was trimmed or not, or and all this stuff. So anyway, we put it through my daughter's microscope here, and looking through that, I was able to see like the difference between like a slight tear on the front cover compared to the back cover. The tear looks like threads, like shoelaces when you look on the back cover. But when you look on the front cover where it was reglossed, it looks like shoelaces covered in like goop, like a yellow goop, like sap or something. Here's another one that I picked up on eBay. It was $300. Here's another one that was not. It was only advertised with the front cover. I bought it, and then I was like, I saw it right away, and I was like, I want it because $300 for how it looked, it looks really nice, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a good deal. And it wasn't advertised because it was just one picture. When he sent it to me, it has an old school Chris Claremont signature. Do you know Chris Claremont signature?
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And it says right here, best Chris Claremont 78. So 1978. I did some research because I was like, that doesn't look like Chris Claremont's signature. Apparently, around the 80s, mid 80s, is when he kind of changed it into that, like taking up the whole, trade
he gets upset if you don't let him sign the trade dress.
Is that right?
Well, I met him at Emerald City Comic-Con last year.
Yeah.
And you can look at the video on my Instagram. I have the post still. And so like I made window bags for where I want him to sign.
Yeah.
And so one of my books, I didn't think it would look good over the trade dress because I knew that's where he mostly signs. So I put it down at the bottom, and when he's like going through and signing it, he gets to that book, and you can see him go, "Ugh," and like he's like kind of sinks a little, and he just kind of like signs it. He clearly makes like a sound. He's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I understand he's kind of a diva, but like I also understand he's like a really nice guy and makes time for his fans. And
he talks, and he was great.
He's very opinionated about certain stuff. So I would call this probably like I called it a VG. What does it say?
Oh, it says,
you keep taking those books out. I was thinking the same thing Joseph was. Like, whoa, careful with that tape.
Oh, yeah. No, I always take the tape off to the side.
I usually don't, and I go, and I just pray it doesn't stick to it. So good for you.
Got you. So yeah, it's like it was dirty on the back a little bit. You can kind of see there's like these tiny micro little dots that could probably be cleaned off, but it seems like it's stained through. You can see a little bit of yellow. So I think those little dots, kind of dirt dots, like stained through. But I asked the guy, hey, can you send, after I purchased it, I was like, hey, do you mind, like, just to make sure there's no surprises, like, missing a back cover, do you mind just like sending me some pictures of the back cover and, like a couple other outside the bag? And he was like, there's other people who want this. If you don't, you can just cancel. I'll just refund you. And I was like, I don't want to cancel. Just take your time, send me the pictures when you can. I just want to make sure I don't, and basically he was like, yeah, when I get the chance. And then eventually I was just like, it's all good. He sent it. It was shady, but I'm happy with it. Yeah, like some people, right? Another one I got $50 on eBay. because it has the 30-cent variant price here. So that wasn't something I was ever really gunning for, but I was like, that's mispriced because I guess it's maybe like $100 book. I'm not quite sure, but it felt like a really good price, and it was a slight upgrade to what I currently had. It's probably like a fine plus or maybe a 7.
Nice.
Here's actually, let's do this one first. Pressman variant.
Terrible cover. Except
Same
that's silver though. I
situation.
like it.
I
Yes.
watched your video today, and when you went, it got a 7.5. I was like, "Ooh, he's
Dude, yes.
Triggering.
This is a 7.5. This is a 7.5 right here. You can tell because it has, like there's like a teeny tiny tear in the back, but also like, a couple of spine ticks, like there and there. And I mean, like,
break. Mine looks like
it's
perfect.
a 7. Like it's a 7. So I don't
Mine
know
looks
what is up
perfect.
there.
Wait. Because it has the spine ticks, it's a 7.
Well,
Oh wait, he's opening again. Be careful.
okay. This is a 7 because it has. Why is this a 7? Oh, look at the back. Look at the back. I mean, maybe even
You gotta
it's a
be
6.
kidding me.
That's
You
a
gotta be
6,
kidding
maybe.
me.
You're gonna give Ryan a stroke here because his book looks better.
I mean, they didn't grade this a 7, Ryan, but like they could be a 5, right? But I mean, like in my opinion, this is a 6.
I'm gonna bring mine to Terrificon, and I'm gonna just show it to everyone. I'm like, tell me what this is, because it does not make sense.
Well, Ryan, I gotta tell you, if you're gonna do that, you gotta crack it out. Because if you show it in a 7.5, people are like, "Oh yeah, it's a 7.5."
No, I mean like at least to whoever's there with us. Like I
I see what you mean. Yeah. When
Yeah,
we're there.
I do want to see it. Let's do a video call. I want you to show it to me. Honestly, I'm really interested in checking it out.
And then the grader notes. Did you see the grader's note? All it says is crease back left cover. That's it. On a
Is there a
7.5.
crease? Yeah. Is there a crease on the back left cover?
I have to do more investigation, but I don't see one. I left that in my press too for like 24 hours. Like I don't know. I don't get it.
This was in a $20 lot, so I thought that was a really good price, right? Here's another one that you guys hate. Rohan, you hate this one?
I don't hate it. I just think
Who said we hated this?
I like 49 better.
I wanted to piss off JP and Rohan with this.
Yeah, I just think it's
Oh,
not.
yeah,
as
that's
good
right.
as
JP doesn't like that cover. I forgot that.
I did get a 49 also, but this one I got from. Oh gosh, I wish I could shout out the I will eventually, but the comic shop is up in Washington and super friendly, and a friend of mine, QWERTY Comics, who lives here in Portland, was like, hey, they got this for $165, and I was like, I guess I'm looking for that. Yeah, and it was a really, I mean, I put it at like a fine plus. It's just got a little like browning or like tanning, if you will, but I think it looks great. So I'm happy about that one, and just like really stoked with the comic shop I got it from. And this is probably my best like come up of the year. This was in a lot. So like mostly like comic lots is how I've been like finding really good deals, I feel like. So this one was in a comic lot of like 25 X-Men comics around this.
Flip that thing out like it's a.
And it was $70.
You flip that thing out like it's a credit card.
What? Which part? Do you mean the comic out of the?
Yeah, pull it out of the bag.
Oh, I do it all the time. Like,
Yeah, you're like it's a credit card coming out of your wallet to pay for Christmas.
So this one was like in
Love
a lot with like a bunch of other newsstand comics, and it was like $70 for, I think maybe it was like 40 comics. But it was a lot, and I was thinking, even if it doesn't have that, I saw just because they're stacked on top of each other, but you can see this part, just that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I know that this has a 266, so whatever's in it, it's great. I don't care the condition. And then this is the first Mark Jeweler I ever found. So it was
sick.
Yeah, Mark Jeweler. There's probably about 5 Mark Jewelers in there. But this was the key, right? So
yeah, that's a big one.
So that's
awesome.
Or it's not really fine, it's fine, very fine. That's what I put it at. I
forgot to bring this up. I found 3 Mark Jewelers this year, and I've been hunting at antique stores, flea markets for I feel a long time scouring and never found any of them. So I found them in a bunch of ASM 340 level. You found it at 266. I mean, that's awesome. That's a hell of a find right there. Wow, that's awesome.
And I thank you. And I think that it's that's why I was asking like around the time, like what Mark Jewelers, is there a list of all the Mark Jewelers? Because there really isn't a list. But from what I understand, that was around the time they stopped advertising.
I feel like the most knowledgeable person I know on Mark Jewelers is Dave from West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, he'd be your guy to talk to.
Yeah, you're right. I guess like I don't, you're right. And he's a really nice guy who I could reach out to, you know?
If that's high grade and Mark Jewelers, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about swapping it out for another one. Take another case of a 9.8 and then just place that right inside.
Seems the way things are going.
I've been thinking about recently. I don't think anybody's catching on to that. So
no one's calling that out. Oh no, this is great.
I got 2 honorable mentions. I thought we were sticking to 10, and then everybody had more.
Oh no, yeah. What do we got?
Yes.
Nice. You know, I love that book.
50, right?
I got that one, and
those ones all elude me at this time.
Sweet.
X-Men 5.
5, yeah.
5.
Love those books too.
Yeah.
Damn, Brian got all the huge keys, man. I mean, you too, Rohan. Like,
yes.
How are you guys able to? Okay, actually, Rohan, I have the specific question for you. What do you do with the comics? Because I know you get like some little ringity ding ding comics. What do you do with those? Like, because you said you have like 40 in your collection, right? So you're only collecting big keys.
Yes.
So what do you do when you pick up, or do you ever pick up these? Like you
throws them out. He just throws them out.
So I've only bought some recently because of our upcoming Series 3 channel, because I want to score some more points. But otherwise, I usually I don't buy them. I just don't like. Yeah, I mean, I just don't. Honestly, for the most part, I just don't buy them. Yeah.
But I mean, you bought from me. You bought the 244, the first.
Yeah, those ones I'll keep because, like, you know, like Jubilee. You know, I love the X-Men cartoon, and so like I'm okay. It doesn't need to be like massive key. Like my niche is really first appearances of characters that I love and major characters. So Jubilee fits that bill. But yeah, like I've got a couple books that like, and I'll either just like, to be honest, like if I make a deal, I'll probably just throw some of the rinky dink ones in as a freebie or something like that. Like I got a first Warpath, which is like New Mutants 22 or something like that. I got it specifically for this challenge. And like, once we do this challenge, like that book will.
It doesn't count.
Then it won't count. Yeah.
Why doesn't it count?
It doesn't count. Remember, because the way Mike said it has to be the first, like James, what's his name?
Proudstar.
James Proudstar actually was in Giant Size X-Men's #1. That was his. Warpath, not when he changed to Thunderbird.
I see. You're talking about specifically.
I'll still have a point for Giant Size X-Men 1 then. But
I don't know if I agree with that. That's why I think we might need to have an actual rule.
We'll rehash that when we do this special. But either way, my point being, once that's over, like that book, it'll just go, like I'll throw it in with something. Like I'll use a lot of those books, for instance, what I've had. If I sell a book, I'll sandwich them between like 2 cheapo books, just to protect them. Yeah.
Got you. Mr. Akins, are you saying that you do find them around military bases, or is that like just your hunch?
No, that's where Mark Jewelers came out. Like they were sold on military bases because I guess, you know, guys that would go overseas or whatever, they'd come back with a chunk of money and like, you know, they want to buy something nice for their girlfriend. So it was like a direct audience for them. So they were sold exclusively on military bases. Right.
I guess I just mean like, is Mr. Akins actually finding them? Because he said find them around military bases. I'm wondering if he actually is finding them, or if that's just that's what you would expect, right? That's
interesting because I was down in North Carolina on vacation, and there's a lot of military bases around there. And the antique stores I went to, I didn't run in any of them. I don't know if I was necessarily looking that hard for them, but none of them were like labeled that way. You would think they would have like a pretty nice stash of Mark Jewelers given the military bases that were there. This should be like the highest content there. So,
And I thought
didn't see
Ryan
them,
would
but
run
then
into
again-
a bunch of Canadian price variants in Canada, but apparently that's not.
I just don't look for them though. Like,
Yeah.
those are probably the hardest ones to look for, the Canadian price variants. Because you're not,
Yeah.
I mean, unless it
because the
sticks out like a
prices
pence.
change over time, so I'm also not even necessarily like, I don't even necessarily know.
Yeah, you won't know if it's
it's not on your
supposed
radar.
to be 30
right?
cents or 35 cents.
Yeah.
The
And
Mark
even,
Jewelers
like,
you can usually see from the top, because you look into the end of the book, and if you see the black in the middle, that might mean Mark Jewelers. So you see newsstand and you look at the top, then you can probably pick it out. But
There
the
we
price
go.
variant, if you're flipping through a long box, it's probably hard to find.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Mr. Akins.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to know the price variant, right? Because even in my lane where I'm sticking to just the X-Men stuff, like I need to remember, like X-Men 107 is normally 35 cents or, whatever. Like I have to know exactly what it is to know that there's the Canadian price variant for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I think I'd planned that we would talk about movies and things like that, but we're already at 2 hours here, and I got to go get my kids home and things like that. So we should probably wind this down. But Ryan and Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you
guys.
everyone that's been here. Mr. Akins, Brandon, Joseph, William, all you guys hanging out. This has been awesome.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's 2023 kind of in our review, kind of how it's been. It's been a good year, and looking forward to 2024.
I forgot to mention my number one 2023 find was you guys.
Oh, Dan always coming through.
Illuminati for life.
The
baby.
the mushiness always comes from Dan. I love it.
Love it.
Gotta hit him. Gotta hit him with it.
Right in the
Love you
field.
guys. For sure.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, JP, why don't you take us out?
Yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Make 2024 your best year. Always believe in yourself. And
There
grab
you
that
go.
Omega Man number 3. Peace out.